Right then, boss. Job's a good un, if I say so myself.
Doc Scarback stepped backwards from the surgery table and observed his patient. Nozbok pushed himself up from the table and swung his legs over the side.
Job's a good un. That's so, Doc. 'Cause I is not breathing right.
Scarback pulled a stethoscope out of a pocket and pushed one end against Nozbok's chest. He listened for a while, then pocketed the stethoscope again.
That's 'cause you was breathing in the melty air, boss. Not good for the lungs, but I suppose it was natural for yous to try. Difficult to stop breathing. Don't do your health no good stopping breathing.
Nozbok lunged at the doc, but the odd boy dodged out of the way, and the war boss ended up leaning against the wall, struggling to breathe.
Just a bit of niggling, boss, continued Scarback. Sort itself out in time. I has given you a brand new shiny lung, made out of metal, with those bellow controls here. Now look it, the mech's helped me with this, it's nice and new and like. What you do is you turn this dial, and your breathing is more regular like. And if you just turns it more, it gets faster. Yes, like when you wants to run about a bit. I wouldn't recommend it. Not for a while. Let it settle in. Then you can try and turn it down again for the walking or the sitting, got it? Nice and easy, boss. Made so specially for you.
Nozbok looked dubiously at the doc and adjusted the dial until he could breathe somewhat more properly than before.
Alright, Doc. I guess it was just set a bit too low before, eh? Keeping me down till you get all the teeth and such. That it?
Scarback smiled like a shark.
Yous knows me too well, boss. Gotta keep getting teeths, otherwise I wouldn't be able to get the shiny bit from the mechs. And who knows what I'd have for you then. Didn't take more than cost of parts, mind, 'cause yous is boss. Wouldn't do that for any of you other orcs. Now then, walk up and down a bit. Yeah, that looks good. Right, yous can take your armour and stuff and go, boss. I'll be down in a couple of days to check in, sees how you is doing and that. I'll send a Grotlet's bodge and chariot down with you to carry your gun and other things, and yous can take it easy for a bit.
Outside the doc surgery, a mob had formed. News that Nozbok had been experimented on had got all around, and all and sundry wanted to have a look-see to find out what the outcome was. When Nozbok strode out on his own 2 feet, with just some slightly more bulky plates around his chest than before, there was a murmur of disappointment. The lads had been hoping for something a bit more exciting, like a squig brain, or a mono wheel, or a telescopic thingy, or whatever. Nozbok scowled at them.
Right then, get off with you, and get sorting your stuff. We's leaving soon. Gotta catch up with them beakies again, give 'em a good smashing. Like what you were doing before, boss? Or was that some other orc who had his lads all shot up like, and got himself in with Doc? Oh wait, no. That was yous.
The speaker was a bulky orc, dressed in the black, white and red of the Goth clan, although somewhat more ostentatiously dressed than might be normally expected for a Goth. Big Boss Frock was mean and hard, and made sure the other orcs knew it.
Sure it, Frock, you miserable git. Your lads were a bunch of useless gits, carrying to bushes. You ain't no better than them.
Nozbok took a menacing step towards the Goth, his power fist clenched.
I ain't gonna sure it. Not to you. We's gonna have it out. I says you is weak, Nozbok. I says I is strong and dead hard, and yous is going down. I challenges you, boss.
With that, Frock drew a curved sabre, glowing red in the late evening sun. Instinctively, the rest of the orcs formed a circle around the 2 orcs. With a growl, Nozbok swung at the Goth with his power fist, but the effects of the iron lung were clearly slowing him down, and his attack was clumsy. Still, the sudden lunge had clearly surprised Frock, who had been anticipating an easy kill, and he backed away, desperately parrying with his power sword. The crackling fist was deflected at the last second, its energy field gazing Frock, blistering his skin and causing him to howl in pain. Sensing the lunge had put Nozbok out of position, however, he speared the sword forwards into the war boss's chest but the blade skittered across Nozbok's armour in a flurry of sparks. Growling in frustration, he didn't notice a sudden change in Nozbok's stance, and the power fist smashed him to the ground in a clutter of armour plates and broken teeth.
I said sure it, Frock. Not that you're going to be needing to talk much with that busted gob.
Nozbok raised his voice.
Anyone else want a bit of it? No? Right then.
He stomped off down the street with a posse of boys falling in behind him.
What's this then?
Doc Scarback leant down over Frock's comatose frame.
A wounded lad? Outside my door? Whatever is the world coming to? Well, he must be a customer, otherwise he wouldn't be here.
Scarback shooed away a nearby squig that was lingering close by.
Best get him inside before he gets eaten. Right then, where's my best hammer?
Some time later, and some good distance away, another group of orcs were settling down to contemplate their options. The issue of contemplation was a message that they had received earlier that day via a messenger squidgen, which had promptly been eaten. Only hours later, while the two orcs reclined back against a wall in the late afternoon sun after a tasty meal, did they remember the reason the meal had appeared in the first place.
Here, Squiggy. There was a note with that squidgen. You's had a read yet?
The speaker was a short orc, almost wider than he was tall, though the reason for this was that his body had almost entirely been replaced by bionic bits. The only organic parts of the orc visible were his great gurning face, complete with extensive beard squig and a flamboyant hat. While boss orcs are generally larger than their underlings, Blockbeard the Freebooter, so named after the aforementioned squig beard, made up for it in other ways. Not only was his cyborg body dead hard, but he had a reputation as a cunning and mean-spirited individual, and many suspected the bionic bits concealed an array of hidden weapons that could be turned on any challenger. His companion, Squig Bonnet, started as if he had been asleep. The squidgen had been a particularly good meal, he thought. Patting down his coat pockets, he eventually withdrew a torn scrap of paper that had been in a cylinder attached to the squidgen's leg.
Right then. Let me see here,
he started, squinting at the note and tracing the lines of crude text with his finger.
Oi, Blockbeard, you miserable git,
he started.
Oi,
growled Blockbeard, pointing his gun fist at Squig Bonnet, clearly insulted by the fact his underling was bad-mouthing him.
Sorry, boss. I's just been reading what it says, not my words like.
Squig Bonnet cleared his throat and continued to read.
Right. Oi, Blockbeard, you miserable git. I's got a job for you, if you is up for a fight. We's got some beakies here, wolfy ones, dead hard, and dead fighty. Already given some of the lads a smacking about, so they're proper smashy. If you want in on the brawl, you get your miserable bionic backside over here to my camp pronto. They've got plenty of guns, bits and whatnot, and there'll be plenty of teeth in it for you, as well as your take of the spoils. Signed Nozbok Boss. Probably means it as a bad moon. It's got plenty of teeth. What do you think, boss?
Blockbeard ran his gun hand through his beard and stared into the distance. Beakies would be a good fight, that was true. Mainly he'd spent the last few years raiding, teaming up with one band of orcs or another, smacking about other orcs or some of the local settlers. Only recently had things started to escalate, as Imperial forces had arrived on the planet, with columns of guardsmen marching up into the hills. Beakies might be a nice change, though.
Aye, could do, Squiggy, but we's got some local business to attend to first. Won't do to leave things not finished here. We've rounded up these lads for a fight with the Yumis down at Jim's place.
With that, Blockbeard pushed himself away from the wall and strode up the nearby rise until he could look down into the next valley. He unhooked a telescope from his belt and, resting it in his hook hand, stared down the tube. In the distance, at the bottom of the valley, a river wound slowly through the jungle. A clearing marked the crossing point, and nearby, a cluster of walled buildings and a road winding up from the valley bottom to the next rise. Squinting, he could just about make out figures moving in the lazy afternoon heat. Jim's place. a former trading post from before the Imperium had come in force. Now the humans were using it as a supply base. Could be some good stuff there, he thought. Lowering the telescope, he turned to Squig Bonnet.
Better take care of business, Squiggy. Anyway, the lads would be disappointed if we didn't. Let's round them up and get smashing. Then we can make our way over to Nozbok.